The ugly face of Republican authoritarianism, the twisted, distorted, angry, hateful face of a Republican Party who desperately serves the morbidly rich and gives lip service to average working Americans at the same time that they're doing everything they can to destroy the lives of average working Americans by cutting Social Security, huge cuts in Social Security Administration in this Trump budget, cutting Medicare, an over $500 billion cut to Medicare in this Trump budget, cutting Medicaid, cutting food stamps, cutting WIC, Women's Infants and Children's Programs, cutting money to education, transferring more and more money out of public schools into private, particularly religious private schools and right-wing private schools, for-profit private schools. All the things that this administration is doing to, cutting back on safety for everything from minors to average, just to average working people. Reducing regulations that stop fracking and refining operations from poisoning people downwind, allowing the coal companies to dump more and more coal waste into our rivers, thus poisoning downriver communities that draw the river, the water from drinking water from the rivers. Ryan Zinke destroying our national monuments and turning them over to foreign mining companies to rape the United States for foreign profits that will be recycled back into Republican coffers. This is what's going on. This is the level of obscene greed and criminality that has come to represent the racketeering, influenced, corrupt organization, the Republican Party, the modern-day GOP, the party where in 2000, when George W. Bush decided he was going to run for president, they literally flipped the stars on the elephant upside down. The upside-down five-pointed star is the satanic star. It's the goat, right? The two horns at the top, the two ears on the side, and the chinny chin chin on the bottom. When you flip it right side up, you've got the star on the U.S. flag. That's what's on the Democratic logo on the donkey. On the Republican logo, since 2000, we've had 3 satanic stars. Surprised? I'm not. And you want to really see how it plays out? Well, there's a Ohio State senator. His name is Dan Foreman. And a group of high school students contacted him in Idaho. They're Idaho high school students. And they wanted to lobby their senator, right? Nothing wrong with that. In fact, we're encouraged to do that, right? Lobbying is something every senator likes. And what they specifically wanted to lobby him for was 2 things. Number one, they wanted there was one piece of legislation in the state capitol that allowed women to receive up to a 12-month supply of prescribed birth control pills. Apparently, right now in Idaho, if you get a prescription, you can only fill it for 1 month at a time. And they're just asking for convenience. Hey, we want to be able to get our birth controls for the whole pills for the year rather than 1 month at a time, number one. And number two, the state has like a 30, 40-year-old sex education law, and they wanted it updated to include training on sexual assault. What is rape? What does it mean when someone says no? This was the students' request. These were the students' requests. And these were both pieces of legislation that were before the Idaho State Senate. Properly and appropriately expand sex education to include consent, and allow pharmacies to sell us 12 months worth of birth control instead of just 1 month at a time, so we have to go back 12 times a year and embarrass ourselves or whatever. Some people are just embarrassed picking up any kind of prescription for that matter. So what did Republican Senator Dan Foreman do when these students showed up? I mean, this is, I'm going to tell you in just a minute how the kids in Parkland are being treated right now by the hard right, by Fox so-called news, by right-wing hate radio, by the right-wing echo chamber ecosystem funded by the right-wing billionaires. We'll get into that. But this is how the Idaho senator responded when the students showed up at his office. And by the way, before you play this, the students who showed up at his office had driven 7 hours to meet this guy. He agreed to meet them at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they were hundreds of miles away. So they got up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to drive to this guy's office to meet with him to say, please please vote for these two very simple pieces, relatively innocuous pieces of legislation. But, gee, it was girls wanting to have something to do with, you know, arguably control over their own bodies. Here's what he said.
Me of not honoring my commitment to be in a meeting. Abortion is murder. I stand against it. I am a Roman Catholic. I'm a conservative Republican. I think what you guys do stinks.
That is your choice.
You're damn right it's my choice, so stay out of my office.
You shouldn't make it other people's.
Next time you walk in my office, you're going to be dealing with ISP.
I don't think.
He threatened him. He threatened him. Next time you walk in my office, you're going to be dealing with the state police. Right. This guy, Idaho State Senator Dan Foreman. What an ass. I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than that. Paul Dillon, the Public Affairs Director of Planned Parenthood of Greater Washington and Northern Idaho, said this diatribe was unhinged. He said, even if you disagree with what we have to say, there's no excuse for that kind of behavior. He's being a bully. So, you know, here's what the students tweeted. We drove 7 hours to make it to our scheduled 9 a.m. meeting. The lawmaker is not doing his job by blowing us off. This is amazing. But, you know, then it goes out, and later on, Foreman tweeted, "Stop harassing me and my staff. You're killing babies." Yeah, if you want to talk about killing babies, talk to a Democratic senator, Marianne Jordan of Boise. Right. His Twitter account apparently was deleted. Senator Dan the Man. Briefly reactivated. It might be a what do you call it? A spoof account. Anyhow, I retweeted it so you can see what I'm talking about, including the letter that the students left him, which was just very kind and didn't say anything about abortion. But these guys, they're hysterical. You know, you come in and say, you know, I want to talk about, you know, sex ed and women's rights. Oh, it's abortion. I'm hysterical. Hey, I'd like to talk about, you know, people dying in our schools. Oh, my God, it's gun control. You know, because these Republicans, they're getting so much money from the right-wing Catholics and the forced birth folks, and they're getting so much money from the National Rifle Association, and they really don't want to be held to account for it. They don't want to answer to their people. And the same thing is happening right now with the kids who survived the Parkland massacre. This from a piece over at Think Progress. The far-right smear campaign against students who survived the Parkland massacre. They're being targeted because they don't want more of their classmates to die. And they talk about how this guy, Gateway Pundit, far-right blog that has press credentials into the White House, you know, is basically trashing David Hogg, one of the young people who are speaking out, because his father is a retired FBI agent. Therefore, the FBI, which is out to get Donald Trump, must be helping this kid get in front of the cameras. Therefore, maybe the FBI shot at the school. Who knows? But Mr. Wintridge of Gateway Pundit is just like all over this. And then Jim Hoft, the editor of Gateway Pundit, appears on One America News, another right-wing network funded by billionaires. This is crazy.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
All the hate that is being spent on these kids by these... When did killing children become a partisan issue? When did the Republican Party become the party of killing kids?